Here we go.
Test.
Tiger podcast. Dan Hawk, Cody Watson. We're going to do our own podcast. Watson and Hawk. Mondays through Friday.
We're good.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Inside Tiger Football, brought to you by Rib Crib. I'm your host, Dan Hawk. Alongside me is head coach Josh Blankenship. Coach, coming off this bye week, what did you learn from everything? We had the Patriot Bowl. Let's get into the nitty-gritty. Take me back a little bit to the offense with the Wasso. What did you take away from that matchup?
A lot of things. We came out, I know we're talking about offense, but defense came out after kicking the ball off and forced a 3-and-out, forced them to punt, which was, you can't ask for much better than that other than a turnover. Offense got the ball somewhere around midfield, went with their opening script. Had a little functional issue there because they kept taking off Wasso players for either knees not being covered or visor issues, whatever. But we're, standing there trying to get going. Run our first play was a quarterback counter, get a little bit out of it. I think the second play was a direct snap to Caleb, trying to get him some touches. Little side notes of encouragement, we're a sustained block away from maybe that one going to the house. Stuff you don't know until you really get on film and look at it. But third play, we convert a third down, complete a ball over to Osmond into their sideline. And then we go a tempo play, get the ball out to Caleb again, and it goes all the way to the house, and then we have to bring it back with a holding call. And that right there is adversity, and that right there is what we're struggling with right now. So we have a setback, whether we get in our own way, whether we deal with something normal like a holding call, things out of our control, like an official's call, and we've got to find a way to learn how to respond in those situations and dig ourselves out of that.
You brought up Osmond hauling in a touchdown over 40 yards, and he's getting his feet wet after missing that season opener. Took a hit to the wall, and it was a pretty scary moment. But just tell me about his toughness on still getting up, playing, and going through all that.
Well, toughness has never been a question, number one, with Osmond. It's never been a question with our team, not this group. That's one of the most encouraging things about this group, and Osmond being one of those guys as erratic as his play can be, and he'd be the first one to tell you that. He did some really good things on offense, didn't play well on defense. But we're going to go kind of as he goes. And there's some other guys that kind of carry that as well, and they own that. They're proud to carry that burden. But toughness has never been a question. He hopped right back up. We had to let him know that, no, bud, you are out, so you're done. But if he had it his way, he would have been right back in. Thankfully, that's why we've got athletic trainers looking out for those kids. Resilience, toughness, grit, physicality, effort, some of those things that are intangible things that there are those years where you wish you had more of. We have those. That's why I still remain very, very optimistic about what we have in store for us this year, because the guys are still giving us everything they got. They've got some key ingredients in toughness and physicality. We've got to do a better job of coaching them to teach them how to know what to do in those key moments and maintaining that focus throughout 4 quarters.
Your other tight end, Ezekiel Wilson, also finding the end zone completely open. Probably one of the hardest catches in the fact that he knows if he drops it, it's all on him, or he's going to take it away that way. But how is he stepping into that, footsteps of Derek Osmond with knowing he's going to be graduating soon?
He's owning it, and it was him, Nick Irvine, and we had a couple other guys that are really filling into that spot, but we didn't have Derek, and Derek and then Lane Condry were projected to be those first 2 tight ends, whether it's in 11 or 12 personnel, and then with both of those guys being out to open the season, you had some other guys that stepped in. Ben Neal's the other one, but doing a great job. It's kind of an unsung role until you see him pop in a little tight end dump down there in the goal line. But other than that, they're just soldiers doing their job, getting better and better every week. Not only do they have big shoes to fill with Condry and Osmond being out, but there's a little bit of a tight end legacy here from the past couple years. Josh Wilhite was very, very explosive, dominant, just another soldier that did his job at a high level on a regular basis. So we knew those were shoes to fill. Very, very pleased with those tight ends coming along.
It's a position that, you got to catch, you got to block. I mean, it's a lot of mind going into it as well. I mean, is that stuff that's easy to coach, or is it natural? I mean, how do you break it down for me?
Oh, I think the only time something's easy to coach is when you got a really, really, really exceptional kid, and then you feel like a great coach, because they get it all probably even before you're trying to explain it. It's a unique position. I think a lot of them are now. Quarterbacks are runners now. Running backs have to be receivers now. You got a lot of guys playing both ways. They got to know defense and offense. Tight ends, more of a naturally hybrid position where half the time you feel like you're no lineman, and then the other half of the time you feel like a receiver. So there's definitely some cross training there. But when you got guys that are really bought in, believe in their coaching that they're getting, and then they have those ingredients we talked about, like toughness and physicality and effort, that the sky's the limit for guys like that.
In the backfield, multiple backs play different roles for you, which can be good and bad. I would say positive for the fact that a lot of players are learning the role of the running back. What do you see it as?
A lot of potential for explosiveness. I think one of the things that we didn't know until we looked at the film, but our offensive line, who's slowly coming together, 3 games in now. First time that group's been together with only one returning starter in Ricky Fernandez. But those guys are really starting to gel a lot more than you probably would have noticed as a casual fan. Was really pleased with their progression as that game went on. But the running backs are a product of that, and Octavian was the one that kind of made a splash in game 2. He was forced into that situation with Cabry being the kind of the slotted starter. Cabry Harris was out in game 2, and we didn't think we were going to have him for Friday night against Owasso, and then a couple hours before the game, he was cleared. So he hadn't practiced in 2 weeks. He was able to jump in and get a few touches. Probably comfort level in what we were doing wasn't there. But he's a guy that it feels really good having that guy back, because he's a dependable senior that's got some high-end explosiveness to him.
Well, Coach, let's take a quick timeout. We're inside Tiger football, brought to you by Rib Crib. We'll take a look at the defensive performance of the Tigers against the Rams and kind of look ahead. Stay with us.
Tulsa Bone and Joint, Northeast Oklahoma's sports medicine experts. We are pleased to help you and the athletes in your life with a number of surgical and non-surgical options. Tulsa Bone and Joint is proud to serve as team orthopedist for local high schools such as Broken Arrow, Owasso, Sapulpa, Cascia Hall, and Bishop Kelly. We're also proud to be team orthopedist for FC Tulsa. Tulsa Bone and Joint, moving life forward.
Your side hustle keeps you moving. We'll help you get where you really want to go. TTCU Federal Credit Union. Life is better in balance.
Welcome back to Inside Tiger Football, brought to you by Rib Crib. I'm Dan Hawk, joined by head coach Josh Blankenship. Coach, I know the defense, it didn't go exactly the way you wanted, but there was a lot of positive. Just break it down on what you saw on tape after looking at it against Owasso that it raised your eyebrow, and the positive sort of things.
The positive's still the same. You got guys playing really, really hard. Guys really wanting to be physical, almost to a fault, where they're probably taking some chances on things that they need to be more sound on mentally. Not take the bait, so to speak. So a lot of young guys that are flying around and being physical, which is encouraging. We're very inconsistent on being where we're supposed to be and doing, what we're supposed to do. So the challenge is on the coaches. How do you get these guys that haven't played a whole lot of games? How do you speed up their progression? Do you simplify? Do you spend more meeting time? Those are all things we're trying to tweak. To pour into these guys to make them better prepared for Friday nights. There wasn't anything Owasso did that was a surprise. It was stuff that we had worked on all week, and there were times where we played really well, and there were a lot of times that we were very unsound and not where we were supposed to be. So that's got to improve.
One running back for Owasso found the end zone with Cecil Garrett. So when it comes to run protection, it seems like your Tigers have been able to not bend and break. They've been able to hold that line
right.
and contain the running backs of opposing teams.
Yeah, and I challenged Coach Mon before the season, well before the season. I mean, all the way back into December, January, that playoff football is going to be determined by running the ball and stopping the run. That's just the way it is. And it's one thing to be porous in pass defense, but if teams can just run it down your throat, then we've got no shot. And so there was probably an overcommitment in a good way, what I asked for, to make sure we're committed to stopping the run. And, the negative byproduct is that is we're over-aggressive probably at the safety position at times, bad eyes, sucking down on play action or things that, want to bait them down to come in to try to make a big hit. And then you get exposed, double moves, screening goes, tailback out of the field on a mesh concept down the rail route where we're supposed to bang and carry that guy, and then we don't. So it looks like a complete bust on cover. But it's stuff we work on all week and we got to continue to work on. And, it's just one of those things that the guys got to continue to play football. And that's the beauty of the bye week is we get a week of just focusing on us, no hyper focus on who the opponent is. It's just us. Our opponent is us.
Linebackers definitely stepping up. Coleman, he's been thrust in this position now with Condry being out for right now, and Jaime Murillo also having a big game as well. Tell me about those two-headed monsters and what those two mean to you on defense.
Well, they've really taken a leadership role on defense, which is what you want out of those guys because they've earned it. They've earned the right to speak. They've earned the right to say this is what our defense is going to be, this is what our defense is not going to be, and they're starting to slide into that leadership role. Murillo, we named a captain before the season started. It's what we expected out of him. He's a heavy-headed, just knows for the football, knows for contact, just loves being physical and loves playing linebacker. And then Cole Lamont, we saw a lot of flashes of what he could be last year as a sophomore, and I'm really excited to see him really stepping into some big-time roles. His greatest challenge, and it's his asset, is his versatility. So he's able to play in the box. He's able to play an edge. He's able to play in space. He's going to be big enough to be a defensive end type of body. So there's a lot of versatility with Cole, which the hard part about that is you're learning multiple positions. So it's an awesome thing to have that versatility, and it's also a burden that he's going to have to own, and he's doing a great job of that. But very excited about both those guys.
Take me back to when you name these guys captains, because you do it every year, but it's very personal for each guy when they get named a captain. Mm-hmm. Walk me through Jaime Murillo's opportunity to lead this program on defense as a captain.
He's a guy that really evolved immediately after his junior year ended. Sophomore year, I think he would agree. He kind of was just a guy that blended in as a sophomore. Junior year, you started to get an idea of what he was capable of. Hard worker. I don't know how committed he was. And then it was immediately after that junior year ended. And a lot of guys, that's just what happens is, the senior factor clicks in. It happened very, very early. I would say, late November, right after the season ended, he wanted to own what this group was going to be. His work ethic in the offseason was insane. His toughness, his commitment, his demand of his teammates and how hard they work. It was tremendous. And so it was a clear choice, by his teammates and by his coaches that he was one of the guys we wanted to be a captain.
With him and the rest of the defensive crew, yes, the Rams found the end zone and it was multiple players, but you guys didn't allow any receiver over 70 yards. So, that's got to be something that you're taking away as well.
We want to win, sure. And so we're really not pouring over stats. What we'll analyze and continue to do is the film. How guys are doing their job. Thank goodness there haven't been effort issues like we've mentioned multiple times, because that's sometimes most times not correctable. These are all things that guys got to continue to learn how to do their jobs with a really good opponent in your face trying to keep you from doing your job. In a big pressure moment, bright lights, big games. And that was a gauntlet that our inexperienced group probably wasn't ready for. 3 title contenders from last year and probably title contenders this year. And we're trying to get traction. If I had a crystal ball, I'd probably go schedule some cupcakes and work on our team confidence, but that's not reality. So we got to find confidence within what we have. I'm very encouraged when I turn on the film of the players that we have. And I love our coaching staff, and I love how we pour into these kids and keep trying to make them better every day. And that's what we're going to continue to do. And we've got a very, very, very high ceiling with this group, even right now this season. And I say going into the season, it's going to be an interesting year. I have no idea how many games we're going to win, but it's a group that I can't wait to coach week in and week out because they're a very talented, hardworking, tough group, and they haven't played a whole lot of games, but sky's the limit for this group still.
Coach, let's take a quick timeout. We'll be joined by defensive lineman Cody Watson on Inside Tiger Football, brought to you by Rib Crib.
Racing towards the end of the month? Ask about our early pay options. TTCU Federal Credit Union. Life is better in balance.
For families who like to build their wealth while staying liquid, we have flexible rate CDs to keep your funds working hard, even when you're not. First National Bank of Broken Arrow. The right balance.
Welcome back to Inside Tiger Football, brought to you by Rib Crib. We're joined by now defensive lineman, senior lineman, Cody Watson. Cody, how you doing so far?
Good. How about you?
The bye week almost over. We got this big matchup with Southmoore, but this season for you, because this is the last one. I mean, how special has this been for you to, be on the line and represent Tiger football?
Well, really, this being my last season, it's kind of like it struck me because now it just flew by so fast, and now I'm really surprised because I was a sophomore at one point and looking up to the seniors, and now I'm that senior. So, and being at the D-line, it's always the first priority on the defense, because if the D-line doesn't get penetration, then it just all falls apart. So,
when you came into the game of football, I'm assuming when you were in Pee-wees, you played all different positions. What sold you about playing defensive football?
well, originally I played offensive line actually, and I was a offensive tackle. So, and then coming up into the middle school years, I played linebacker. And then they pulled me down to D-line just because I got a little bit bigger. And I played DN for a while. And then this year is my first year playing interior D-line. So
you're very charismatic, not just on the football field. I mean, I got to learn a little bit about you. You're a car guy as well. So give me the backstory with all the things that you do that are outside the game of football.
So growing up, I would always watch like car videos on YouTube. It was like my favorite thing to watch. And there's this group called Throttle that does like car modifications, and they'll take a random junkyard car and they'll turn it into like this race car. And so once I had the opportunity to work on my own car, I just went all in. So like all the money that wasn't going to like food or gas went to my car, and not like extra clothes or anything like that.
All right, every car guy, I know that they try to save every dollar. So is there a day where you're like, you know what, I'm not going to get the foot-long sub today. I'm going to get the 6-inch to save for my car.
Yeah, I downloaded the McDonald's app just so I can get like the 20% discount. So that way I can get more money towards my car. And I would like budget me to like $5 to $7 at McDonald's, or like get like the $1.12 or something like that, McChickens.
Okay, when you're doing all this, I mean, the end goal is to make this ride even more, cooler and whatnot. How does that relate to your football ability? Because I'm assuming you try to find ways to get even better in a quicker amount of time as well.
Yeah, so my older brother is actually a bodybuilder, and so he put me on a meal plan so that way I could gain weight to play D-line, because sophomore year I was 190 pounds, and then going into the middle of the offseason from my sophomore year, I went up to 220. So he definitely helped a lot for weight-wise. And then my dad used to be a wrestling coach, and he would put me through like these extra exercises at home, which actually helped me a lot. And then I had a great coach first year coming to high school. His name was Coach Heath, and he definitely taught me like explosion-wise. And I'm a very explosive player, so now that's basically what happened.
How much fun do you have hitting opposing teammates or players on the other team? I mean, I know you don't like to rough up your own team, but it happens in practice. But when you're facing other teams, what's that like for you?
It's definitely like what brought me to football, because I'm a very competitive person, and being able to hit people without getting in trouble was kind of like a thing that I really liked, because sometimes you're just mad and you could just leave it on the football field. You don't have to leave it with people at school, and just being able to hit people across from you is just pretty fun.
Your brother being a bodybuilder, what kind of avenues have you taken away from him for your own skill set in the weight room?
Well, I would really just ask him like random questions out of the blue through text messages, like how can I do better on bench press, or how can I lift heavier, and he would always go all in with me. It's really awesome to have a brother that's like that. It's pretty cool.
For the defense, you've been a part of this program for quite some time. I mean, what do you want to see improved on what you guys are doing on D?
Well, really, the defense that we're playing right now is actually the defense I really like, just because for me personally, they get to put me head up across the center, and they just tell me to do whatever I want, explode through them, pick an A gap, and just shoot through as fast as you can, which is really what I did at Owasso. I really just took a step as fast as I could through the A gap and just blindly shot my hands as hard as I could, and then the plays just ended up in my lap. So,
has it hit you that you're in your final season playing Tiger football?
Yeah, it hit me pretty hard walking into the tunnel for the first game. So I walked in there and then I was like, whoa, okay, now it's hit, because now I'm walking out for the first time. So
a lot of AP classes you're involved in. You're a car guy, football. What's your goals, man? Like, what do you want to do when you graduate? What are we going to see out of Mr. Watson?
So the goal is to get a scholarship to play at the collegiate level, just to bump those prices down for college. And then I want to study as a mechanical engineer to work in the automotive industry, because I really like cars and stuff like that. So,
do we see you in a pit crew, or do we see you driving? Like, what gave me the background on the goal when it comes to cars?
So my main goal in life, my dream job is to work on F1 cars. So to be the person that designs and modifies those cars, not like working in the pit crew, but actually builds the car.
Just tell me this. Can I get a hookup when it's time that I need a new car that you can help me out a little bit?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, Cody, I appreciate you stopping by for Inside Tiger Football, brought to you by Rib Crib. Coming up next, we'll have head coach Josh Blankenship as we get you set for this week's matchup with Southmoore.
Life happens in a hurry. Our money experts will help you keep up. TTCU Federal Credit Union. Life is better in balance.
At Ascension St. John, you'll find advanced heart care, brain and spine care, and personalized cancer care. And we excel just as much in the things that can't be measured. Listening more closely, caring more compassionately.
Welcome back to Inside Tiger Football. I'm Dan Hawk, joined by head coach Josh Blankenship. Great stuff out of Cody Watson. And now we turn to the page to district play with Southmoore. What do you see on tape out of them?
Right now we're focused on our bye week. Obviously coaches are breaking down Southmoore and getting ahead on that. Really not even mentioning Southmoore right now. It's all about us. Now we have talked about what district play is. It's a reset. If we had won 3 in a row of our non-district, it had no impact on what we're getting ready to do, other than we probably feel good. Losing 3, if we'd been 1-2, 2-1, any scenario at a non-district doesn't matter. Now they start to count. We've talked about playoff seeding. The benefits of being a 1 or 2 seed means you get a bye and then you host second round. 3 or 4 means you're playing first round, you're in, but you're hosting. 5 or 6, you're in. 7 or 8, you're out. You're not playing. You're going on to basketball or wrestling. So, we talk about that sense of urgency and what we're doing this week, even though there's not an opponent that we're playing Friday night. It's an investment. It's what are we doing? We're kind of making up for that short fall camp.
Mm-hmm.
When you play a 0 week, you're giving up a week of fall camp. I like that we have this bye week right before district, because we get to go back and readdress what we've got to get better at. Which really, that is the key thing, is it's all about us and not self-destructing, shooting ourselves in the foot. Give our guys a chance to go execute. And when we do that, we've got explosive guys that can do it.
So with all that, how important is it that this game to open up districts is here at home instead of being on the road with being road warriors?
I think it's a bonus. There's the comfort level of what school feels like, the routine of how you get over here 6 hour, the JV getting a lift, what time the sandwiches, are had, what time we do our meditation, what time we do our walkthrough. And there's no wrinkles to it because you're traveling to the west side and you got to leave early. So the routine of that is certainly good. There's familiarity to it. Obviously, being in our locker room, our indoor, and then playing on our field that we practice on every day, there's definite positives to that.
Does your style of coaching change at all when we get into district play, or is it still the same approach?
I don't know if I've analyzed that. I would say I probably take a few more risks in maybe non-district, where you're trying to take advantage of every scenario that you can possibly expose your kids to. in the non-district, I might be a little more aggressive on some things in non-district than the focus, in districts, obviously first to get the win. And then, you've got a point variable there that's a plus or minus 15 or anything in between that could come down and be critical in tiebreaker scenarios. So you're definitely counting points. You're definitely, my job is to put these guys in best position to go win a game. And then to go put them in the best position to go be hot and go make a run in the playoffs. So seeding's important, points are important, and then obviously getting better is always the focal point, but not at the expense of winning a game.
Can you give us any players that you think could make a big impact now that we're into district play because they know what's on the line?
I still think it's our fronts on both sides of the ball. I've seen some tremendous growth from our offensive line, which I was really waiting to see. Like I've mentioned, first time that group's been together. And then the defensive line is very, very young, very, very experienced, but very talented. And you see flashes of some really good defensive line play. And I'm anxious for that to all tie together for 4 quarters.
Well, Coach, I appreciate you stopping by, doing Inside Tiger Football. For head coach Josh Blankenship, I'm Dan Hawk. The next time we'll see you will be against Southmoore here at home at 7 p.m.